gentlemen. As we begin our services, if we can please kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices, or please place them on silent. Thank you.
Kirachem av al banim, richam Adonai al yereav. As a parent has compassion for children, so God has compassion for us. God knows how we are fashioned. God remembers that we are but dust. The days of mortals are like grass. We flourish like flowers in a field. The wind passes over, and we are no more. But Adonai's compassion is everlasting, and God's kindness to children's children remains, age after age, enduring. We always begin this service with psalms, the oldest prayers that we have, our oldest liturgy, going back to the time of the Bible. And in that way, we're going to link the life of Lisa to 3,000 years of Jewish tradition, the people Israel, and the eternity of God. Shir LaMa'alot. Ehesainai el heharim me'ayin ya'avo ezri. Ehesainai el heharim me'ayin ya'avo ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai Ose shamayim ba'aretz. Ayitein lamot raglecha al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha yad yaminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka, v'yareach balayla. Adonai yishmorcha mikora, yishmor nafshecha. Adonai yishmor tzeichavuecha, me'ata v'ad olam.
That psalm that Rabbi Lindemann just recited in the Hebrew began with a question. I lift my eyes to the mountains, from where will my help come? A question that the psalmist asked thousands of years ago, perhaps at a time of sorrow like this one. And here was his answer. My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way, for your guardian will not slumber. The guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai is your protection, a guardian at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you and guard your soul. For Adonai guards your going out and coming in, now and forever. Mismor LeDavid. Adonai roi lo efsa. Bino deshe yarbit seni ame minuchotina haleni. Nafshi shaved yanchenu b'maglei tzedek lama'an shemo. Gam kielech v'gei samavet lo irara ki ata imadi. Shiftecha mishantecha hema yinachamuni. Taroch lefanai sholcha neged surai. Dishamta v'Hashem roshi kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yudefuni koimei chayai. V'shavtu b'beit Adonai le'orech yamim. Those were the Hebrew words of Psalm 23, also known as the Shepherd's Psalm. A psalm whose words guides us through difficult moments like this one. I'll invite you, if you would like, to join me as we recite it in English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
This Shabbat in the synagogue, we will complete our readings of the second of the books of the Torah. But it's really from the first book of Torah that we learn much about what brings us together today. There, at the time of the passing of the matriarchs and the patriarchs of our people, it is members of the family who come forward to speak words of eulogy and words of memory. And so, in keeping with what is truly an ancient tradition, we're going to hear today from members of Lisa's family. First from Bill, then from nephew Mark, and then from her daughter Katie. Bill?
I'm going to do the best I can here. Try to get through this. I want to thank everybody for being here today and for your outpouring of messages, phone calls, texts, and of course Lisa's favorite way to communicate with her long-standing friends, which was her Facebook page. You know, 4 years ago, we buried our 87-year-old father. Well, it's never easy to bury anyone that you love. He was 87. He was sick. And it was his time. This was not Lisa's time. As a 51-year-old, beautiful, smart, funny, hardworking, and loving person, my baby sister, Lisa did it all. She managed her family. And of course, her proudest accomplishment in Lisa and George's life is their daughter, Kate, who's here, her college, junior year of college. But of course, her career followed very closely behind. Before I talk about her career, let me step back and talk about our family and when Lisa was little. She was the baby of the family of 3 kids. Amy, my older sister, and then there was me a couple years later, and then Lisa was born over 11 years after me. So my sister Amy said yesterday that she was so embarrassed at her bat mitzvah when her mother walked in 9 months pregnant. And I recall being 13 and having some buddies over, and of course Lisa wouldn't stay away. And we weren't paying much attention to her, and she peed on my friend. You're not very popular in middle school when your little sister is peeing on your friends. And of course, she was the character of the family. Always kept us amused. But as a couple of teenagers, it wasn't easy with a social life, having a little kid in the house. One of my favorite stories is one spring break, our parents took us to the Newport Hotel in North Miami. Funny, huh? I was 16, and Lisa was 5, and Amy didn't come because she was 18 and she got a pass. My parents were going out to dinner, and they told me, "You stay in the room and you babysit Lisa." So of course, as soon as Lisa was asleep, I left to go hang out with the new friends I had met at the pool. I came back an hour or so later, and she was gone. As I frantically left the room, she then came walking down the hallway with a security guard and a lollipop. I was grounded for 3 months. Then, of course, I didn't go away to college, And here I am, a 19-year-old, living with an 8-year-old. So while she could be the most fun little toy a kid could have, she was a major pain in the ass. I could never keep my bedroom door locked well enough to keep Lisa out. And of course, she would barge in, and let's say, being with a friend, or it didn't work out very well for me. But then she'd rummage through my drawers, and she'd walk into the kitchen to my mom and say, "Mom, look what I found in Billy's drawer." So I was politely, well, maybe not so politely, asked to leave and get my own apartment. So it kind of worked out for me. Yeah. Fast forward, my parents and I started our flea market business in 1977, which actually morphed into Wilmar when Lisa was 7 years old. She was the original latchkey kid. The family was always working. We'd bring her to the flea markets, and she'd walk around with the other little flea market orphans, and was very good as long as we got her unlimited cotton candy and funnel cake down the street at the Berlin Mart. She came to work, and many of you remember this, when she was 16, part-time, and then when she was 18, she became part of the marketing team. She had a brief stint when she left Wilmar to go work for a printing company, which gave her great experience that helped her when she came back to be an integral part of the company. She eventually moved to Jacksonville after I sold the company when headquarters moved there. She didn't need to, but she felt that she was never going to continue to climb the corporate ladder if she wasn't at headquarters. After that, she left Wilmar in about 2009 and went to work at a competitor, Central Wholesalers, which brought her to Maryland, to be with her sister as well. And then, of course, she left and went to work at DSW. 3 companies, 35 years. Her career moved up the ladder, consider her income. She has kept some long-term relationships from her youth in Marlton, but many of her closest friends are those from the industry, and many of you are in this room today. The truth is, Lisa's been battling liver disease for over 10 years. And maybe if she was more conscious of taking care of herself instead of others, we wouldn't all be in this room today. 4 years ago, my beautiful niece, Rachel, gave her 65% of her liver. We thought that was going to be it. She's battled that and struggled really bad for the last 4 years. Rachel is my sister, Amy's daughter. Amy has been the rock of this family in this situation for 10 years. She pushed Lisa to make her doctor's appointments and urged her to follow her health directions. I love you, Amy. Thank you. So instead of me telling you and describing her, you all know this, about some of the descriptive words I thought I would just share some of the descriptive words from almost the over 500 Facebook comments from the last few days. And not all the condolences, just the special spots, special words. Here we go. I will miss her sunny disposition and unstoppable positivity out here in Facebook land. Next, she was a fun and lively person. Next, Lisa was such a special person, and I owe my career to her. She was a mentor for me and a friend. Next, Lisa was such a wonderful person, and it's so much fun being in her line. Next, I first met Lisa at Wilmar. She took me with her and helped me keep large volumes of businesses as she moved to Florida when Interline Brands was created. She didn't need to do that, and it meant the world to me that she thought of me enough to stick her neck out for me. Next, she was an amazing friend and a boss. I knew her since high school, so many fond memories working with her at Wilmar. She had a heart of gold and an incredible spirit. She'll be truly missed. Next, She was one of my best friends. Next, I was blessed to have known Lisa. Next, Lisa was a wonderful person. She was strong and a spunky woman, and it could be so challenging for a woman to excel in the business world today and be taken seriously. And I admire her professional accomplishments and drive, even when she was incredibly ill. Her loss will be deeply felt. Next, I have decades of memories to fondly cherish of the girl I called Lily Queen. Next, she was such a positive and upbeat person and is sorely missed already. Lisa is the reason I pursued the love of my life, and I will be eternally grateful for that. She told me to go left when I was always going right. And man, was she right, full of wisdom and not afraid to bestow it upon others. Next, I knew Lisa since middle school. She was always so genuine and funny and fun. Her positive spirit was such an inspiration. Next, Lisa will remain my best friend in my heart. Heaven surely gained an angel. Next, Lisa was the kindest person in light of sunshine. Last, and my personal favorite, I thought I woke up to a bad dream this morning. Lisa was beautiful, smart, loving, caring, and will always hold a very special place in my heart. You will be gone, but you will never be forgotten. Thank you.
Mark?
Not as young as I was. Before I start, today's a little different than yesterday. Although we initially sent her off in Maryland, this is home. Will, Mar, this place is magic right now. The names that came through here, I remember them from when I was 5 years old. Spending it at our Christmas parties, hitting the Soul Train line, doing some dancing. Sorry, I had to say it. It's amazing. Everyone's here. The whole crew. There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. The legend of Lisa Blum began on April 10th, 1970. She was born 11 plus years later than my mother and uncle. She was the family baby. My grandmother and grandfather loved babies. They always told my wife, Dina, and I, we should have more. In 1981, I was born, and she became my tanta at only 11 years old. Looking back, that must have been pretty crazy for an 11-year-old to be told she was becoming an aunt. I know that is the reason why our relationship was so unique, as she probably always had a little more in common with me than her big sister and big brother. As the eldest nephew, niece to her, I never had an older brother or sister to watch and learn from. She was my big sister. She was the reason I grew up a little quicker than most. As she was living her teenage years and early 20s, she passed on all her knowledge to me, for the good and the bad. She is the reason why Revenge of the Nerds is still my all-time favorite movie. We were talking about this on the Cried Up. I also wanted to mention Porky's and Summer School. All movies I shouldn't have been watching at 5 years old. But She introduced me to a 22-year-old Rob Lowe and a 34-year-old Patrick Swayze in the movie Youngblood, again in 1986. She also used to watch Fraggle Rock with me, and she always had a thing for dragons, as I remember her favorite characters were Figment, the mascot of Imagination, and Puff, the magic dragon, which made a lot more sense as I got older. She also had this crazy fetish with flamingos. She had a love for Philadelphia sports, but none more than her Philadelphia Flyers, headlined by Rick Tocchet, Ron Hextall, and Eric Lindros. She loved to shop until she dropped, sometimes with reckless abandon. I've never seen someone come back from the Jersey Shore boardwalk with so much local swag. She always embraced the family trips, starting back as far as I can remember at the host farm, Israel, New York, or always Longport. The beach was her happy place. She lived by the tagline, "I don't want to grow up, because if I did, I wouldn't be a Toys R Us kid." Age is only a number, but she could have fooled us all by her charismatic personality and witty charm. When it came to me, she had a hard time trying to make a decision of being a responsible adult or a kid in a candy shop making decisions like she would when she was my age. The reality is, we all grow up, and decisions must be made. She lived in South Jersey for a long time, and then to Jacksonville, so we didn't see each other as much as we would have liked. Then she moved back to Maryland again for an opportunity and to be closer to us. We weren't neighbors, and we didn't see each other on a weekly basis, but her presence was always felt. We got to spend amazing holiday times with her, George and Kate, a lot more than if they weren't here, so that was a true blessing. She got to spend time with my wife Dina and her 3 kids, as she used to call them, AJ, Mia, and Tori, which she beloved like they were her own. They all called her Tanta as well. Did I mention she was a marketing genius? Her work was unmatched, which led every organization she worked for to the top. She has countless coworkers who admire and love her for her mentorship, leadership, and whatever it takes attitude. Wit. 4 years ago, my Poppy Marty passed away. Lisa was never quite the same since then. It was around that time that her liver started to fail. She loved my grandfather more than anything in the entire world. There's nothing like a daddy's little girl. He always had her back, and she knew it. She milked it to the end. And hey, why not? She always kept his picture not more than an arm's length away. He was smiling right at her till the last day. And I know he was the first one welcoming her to the pearly gates of heaven. They are together again, no longer in pain. In speaking with George, her beloved husband, I asked him how many years they were together, and he assumed I meant marriage, which was 26 years. But I really wanted to know how long they had been together. They were together for 35 years. More than half of their lives spent with the same man that she loved with all her heart. High school sweethearts. Everyone here knows this about her, but this is exactly who Lisa was. The most loyal wife, mother, friend, daughter, sister, aunt, cousin you could ask for. They gave me Little Camel, a nickname earned by Kate on our family trip to Israel many years ago. I know Lisa left you a lifetime of knowledge and preparation, but remember, you always have all of us. In closing, I got to see Lisa for the last time on February 21st. She was like her old normal self, spitting out jokes, smiling and laughing. I am glad I had that moment. I got to give her one last hug and kiss and tell her I love her right to her face. I left that day thinking she was going to have her second liver transplant and come through this like she always had, via the countless surgical procedures that she's had over the last few years. I think we all did. I said goodbye to my E for the last time, not knowingly. On the next morning, she texted me at 11:11 a.m. asking, "Who's the new Ravens coach?" I said, "They hired a new defensive coordinator named Mike McDonald from the University of Michigan." She said, "What about Mike Devlin?" No idea who Mike Devlin is. Offensive line coach, I think, she said. I had to Google it and realize he was hired as a new assistant offensive line coach. It happened to be from Cherokee High. She replied back, "He's my boy. Plan on sitting on the sidelines." I asked if she knew him from back in the days of South Jersey, and she said, yeah, still talk to him. Tanza, I wish you could have been standing on the sidelines with him at the game this season. That would have been so cool. I shared this story because, as many of you know, sports revolves around my world constantly. It is my life. The lessons I have learned from sports has totally transformed over into my day-to-day life. Lisa was a great teammate, always playing her hardest for the best team that I know. It's our family. May your legend continue with us all for generations to come. You can enjoy that blue cheese stuffed olive martini again now. I love you, Tanza. Your favorite nephew. Calm down. As many as you know, George is in the hospital right now. And he's the strongest warrior we all know. Because he did the unthinkable yesterday. And in Maryland, he showed up at her funeral with 4 nurses, an oxygen tank. He had to be there. And he did whatever it takes to be there. Not George. Just pretend. Close your eyes. Think of George's voice for a second, but this is his ode to his wife, Lisa. My dearest Lisa, you are and will forever be the love of my life. I'm still trying to process the fact that you are no longer with us, that we won't finish each other's sentences or have the same exact thought at the same time, or say the same thing and laugh about it. You are the greatest mother to our daughter, Kate, always wanting the best for her in every way possible. You are a wonderful wife, always staying positive, encouraging me to be the best person that I could be. A terrific daughter to Marty and Florence, clearly evident by your favorite child status that you flaunted an awesome sister to Bill and Amy, an incredible aunt to all your nieces and nephews, and great aunt, and so on. There is no way I could possibly put into words the lifetime we spent together in only a couple days. The 35 years we had together were truly a blessing for me. You made me a better person, a better father, a better me. And for that, I'm so grateful. We had so many more things planned we won't be able to do. But I'm thankful for all that we did get to do together. You are missed, you will be missed, always and forever. As I've spoken and written 1,000 times before, I'll love you forever and a day.
Okay.
I had a hard time putting my thoughts into words because words will never be able to describe my mom. Words also can't describe the disbelief I'm feeling. A world without my mom by my side is unimaginable. Nothing makes sense or feels fair right now, and it probably never will. Whenever things didn't go my way, my mom would explain to me that everything happens for a reason. Right now, it is hard to think that there is a possible reason for this. What I do know now is that she is at peace, which brings me a sense of peace. Although I would never admit it to her face, she was the cool mom that all my friends loved hanging out with. But she did not need to hear that for me to know. To know her was to love her, and no in between. She would always say to me, "I love you forever, I love you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby will be." It's now my turn to share her love and memories throughout the world, and I say back to her, "I'll love you forever, I'll love you for always. As long as I'm living, my mother you'll be."
So first of all, thank you to Bill and to Mark and to you, Katie, for doing what is so difficult, so emotionally challenging, and speaking at a time such as this. Tribute to your love for your sister, your tanta, and your mom. The loss is clearly profound. Hopefully the memories will sustain you through this difficult time and in the days to come. So now let me offer a bit of context, if I may, for the memories that you've already heard and a few more that were shared with me. On the Jewish calendar, we are currently in the month of Adar, which the Talmud tells us, Misha nichnas Adar marbim b'simcha. From the beginning of the month of Adar, we seek to increase joy because it is the month in which we celebrate the happy holiday of Purim. It seems a sad irony then that a family and a community of friends should come together to mark a tragic loss at this season. And yet, there may be direction in the Talmud's teaching for indeed a significant part of what we have heard from Bill and Mark and Katie reflects the happiness in Lisa's life and the joy she brought to so many. Bill, when we spoke, your first words that you shared with me were about your sister were, "She was a big personality and very funny." And you went on to add, as you did in your remarks, that she was always upbeat and positive. That's Marbim B'Simcha. Her humor was never at the expense of others and tended instead to be of a self-deprecating sort, a joke or an anecdote about herself. And by way of example, I asked for some examples. You offered me some of her Facebook posts. And so I read the first one, in which she posts on February 7th, "There's no reason to tailgate me when I'm doing 50 in a 35. And those flashing lights on the top of your car look ridiculous." Or another one, titled "The Adult Version of the Ice Cream Truck," and below 4 trucks pictured. FedEx, UPS, the post office, and of course, Amazon. Another one, I choked on a carrot this afternoon, and all I could think of was, I bet a donut would not have done this to me. And then, sometimes I shock myself with the smart stuff I say and do. Then there are the times when I try to get out of the car with my seatbelt on. But along with the humor, there were posts that showed a serious side and a sensitive side of Lisa and her personality. And this one was posted specifically for Bill and for her sister Amy. And it says, "Siblings take care of each other, watch out for each other, comfort each other, and are there for each other through thick and thin." And at the top, her personal notation, "Love you too, the mostest," and a heart. And then there was another Facebook post, and this one had 2 hearts. Just a picture of her dad, and this. "Can't believe it's been 4 years since I lost my confidant, best friend, mentor, and daddy." Now clearly, family meant a lot to Lisa. Her parents, Marty and Florence, her brother and sister, Bill and Amy, to whom she was the kid's sister because she was so much younger. With George, as we've heard, she made a marriage of 26 years. You know, in our tradition, when people are married, we wish for them to have blessings, and we wish twice. We pray that they become Re'im Ahuvim, beloved companions. 26 years of marriage, 35 years together, supporting for each other, caring for each other, sharing each other's successes, helping each other through setbacks and illnesses, raising their daughter Katie, seeing her become an independent, competent adult. When you do and share all of that, that's Re'im Ahuvim. That's beloved companions. That's blessing fulfilled. And if a wedding in our tradition is the biggest simcha of all, that's Marbim B'Simcha. And all of you brought joy to Lisa's life, as she did to yours. Katie, when I asked you about your mom, you said, as you did just now, that there were no words. But indeed, you found the words to share with me. And they were very meaningful. You said that your mom was always supportive of everything and anything you wanted to do. And you gave me some examples, like going to Hawaii instead of a semester abroad, because you'd gotten a bit ahead in your school work. And she was thrilled that you could have that adventure. In fact, you said she's delighted that she could see you have the opportunity to do things that she didn't do, college, sports, trips that she didn't take, that you did. And you noted that she so much enjoyed watching you do these things that in truth, you said it was more than that. You said she lived through me as I did these things. And when it was time for you to go off to college, and many were saying that you should stay close to home, your mom saw it differently. She said, go for it. What could make a mom or a dad happier than seeing their daughter get the most out of life? For a parent, that is truly Marbim B'Simcha. She had a lot of joy in you. And not surprising then, Katie, that you said your mom was your best friend and the person you could share anything with, the good and the not so good. Her counsel, which you also quoted to me, everything happens for a reason. No doubt she would seek to comfort you now with similar words and thoughts. And I know that you found comfort in the fact that in the last semester you were at home working and going to school at the same time and spending time with your parents, who were both proud that you were able to manage all of that before going off to Hawaii. It was your mom's warmth and humor and support that made her a confidant not only for you, but also for the nieces and the nephews, who also found her fun to be with, a friend as much as a tanta, as we've heard, to Allison and Lauren, Adam, like a sister, really, because of the very little age difference with Mark, and with Rachel, who loved her so much that she provided a transplant that lengthened Lisa's life, though it could not save her in the end. And all of you were attracted to Lisa's personality, her special combination of caring and fun. And Katie noted that those attributes drew your high school friends close to her as well. They enjoyed spending time with her, talking to her, coming along on trips to the beach to look at colleges. And whether it was walking on the boardwalk or shopping or just hanging out at Longport, Lisa made it a special time for everybody in her company. And to you, Katie, in addition to those words that you spoke, she was also fond of saying, "I love you to the beach and back." That's Marbim B'Simcha, mother's great joy in a child. But here I want to add another meaning of that word simcha. There's an often quoted passage from Pirkei Avot, a tractate of Talmudic Mishnaic ethics, that begins with a question. It asks, who is truly wealthy? And the answer is offered, Hasameach b'chelko, the one who is satisfied with his or her lot in life. This is a very different and perhaps even deeper understanding of the word simcha. Lisa found great satisfaction in her life, in family, in friends, and in her work. She started out, as we've heard, at age 16 in the family business, where she was also called the kid. And she became very good at merchandising and marketing. And so, even without a college degree, she went on to executive positions in those 3 companies. She was successful in part because of her leadership abilities. Her humor and her capacity to make people feel good about themselves made them gravitate to her. And she could give good advice in ways that enabled people to hear it and accept it. She was approachable, positive, upbeat. She was sameach b'chelka, satisfied with her lot in life. And that made others feel that way as well. Co-workers became friends. That's a whole different meaning for Marbim B'Simcha. And we need to note, again, that she did it all despite grappling with significant illness. She persisted. She didn't let it stop her from work or enjoying family and friends. So now I want to close with another of her Facebook posts. Listen to this. Posted February 4th. If you died tonight, your employer would advertise to fill your job role by the end of the month. But your loved ones, family and friends, would miss you forever. Don't get too busy making a living that you forget to make a life. There were 42 responses, likes to that one, and I suspect that there might be even more today. Lisa made a meaningful life, one in which there was much satisfaction and joy, truly Marbim B'Simcha. And because of the way she lived, as a daughter, a sister, a wife, a mother, a tanta, and a friend, her memory will surely be a blessing in all of your lives for all the days and the years to come. We rise for final prayer. El Malei Rachamim Shochena Bamramim Hametzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina B'Ma'alot Kedoshim U'Taharim Kezar Harakiam Hasirim Et Nihishmat Lebasya Bat Matol Yisrael Fegazelda Shachal Olama Began Eden Te Menuchata An Abal Rachamim העולמים הסתיריה בסתר כנפך לעולמים והו צרור ביצורי חיים את נשמתה אדוני הוא נחלתה ותנוח בשלום על משכבה ונאמר אמן.
Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest and sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, to the soul of Lisa Blum, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. And I'll ask that you'll join me as we recite the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yikadal, Yikadash, Shmei Rabbah, Be'alma, Dibra, Kirute, Yamlich Machute, B'chayechon, Yomechon, B'chayei Dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'gala, Ubizman, Kari, Vimru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach, Le'olam Omeo Maya, Yitbarach, V'ishtabach, V'pa'ar, V'tromam, V'naseh, V'hadar, V'taleh, V'talal, Shemei Kudsha, Brechu, Leila, Mikol, Birchata, V'shirata, Tushbechata, V'nechamata, Damiran, Be'alma, V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Romah, Uya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. May God who brings peace in the heavens bring peace to all of us here on earth, and we all say, Amen. You may be seated.
As we conclude, I just want to note that the family will be gathering, and others have been invited to join them at the Legacy at Woodcrest Country Club, just across the street. And there will be a Shiva Minyan this evening at 6:30 p.m. and an opportunity, of course, for all of you to share your memories and reflections. Thank you.
Folks in these two rows as well, we begin to head toward car skills.